What if everything you've been taught about money is keeping you broke? What if the real key to wealth isn't working harder, but doing one powerful thing today? Imagine never trading time for money again. Imagine owning boring businesses that quietly cash flow. Picture building systems that pay you even when you sleep, using debt like the wealthy do, and turning attention into income. You don't need $1 million idea. You need a single asymmetric action that tilts the entire game. The rich don't wait, they move. And if you do this one thing today, you may never struggle with money again. Most people live their entire lives trapped inside the same equation, hours in, dollars out, and they wonder why they can never quite get ahead. They tell themselves they just need a raise, a better job, maybe a second job, or a promotion. But the truth is, as long as you're trading time for money, you are playing a losing game because time is finite. You only get 24 hours in a day. You can hustle harder, grind more, maybe even squeeze in a little overtime, but at some point you'll hit a ceiling and it will hit back harder. That's why if you want to stop struggling with money forever, you need to stop asking how much you're being paid and start asking, what can I own that pays me? Let me tell you something most wealthy people won't say out loud. The real money isn't in the sexy startups or the unicorn ideas. It's in the boring stuff. The predictable, unglamorous, often overlooked businesses that people use every single day without even thinking twice. I'm talking laundromats, car washes, parking lots, self-vending machines, trailer parks, cleaning services, ice vending machines, mobile notary services. These are not the kinds of businesses that get featured on the cover of Forbes, but they are the kinds of businesses that quietly make people rich because they generate cash, real, recurring, dependable cash without needing you to invent the next big thing or pitch to investors in a fancy suit. And here's the kicker. Most of these businesses are being run by baby boomers who are ready to retire. Many of them don't have an exit plan. They're sitting on profitable operations, solid customer bases, systems that already work, and they just want someone responsible to take it off their hands. You can walk in, make an offer, use seller financing, and take over a business that has already proven itself, sometimes without even using your own money. That's not a dream. That's just a different way of thinking. When I tell people this, the first reaction is often disbelief. Wait, you're telling me I can own a business instead of building one from scratch without millions in the bank, without being some corporate genius? Yes, because the opportunity isn't in being a genius. It's in seeing what others ignore. Most people are so caught up trying to look impressive that they miss the actual pathways to financial freedom. And if you ask me, I'd rather own a cash-flowing HVAC service or a septic tank business than chase likes on Instagram or a flashy app idea that may never work. The best part, these boring businesses don't require you to reinvent the wheel. They require you to run operations, treat people well, maybe improve marketing, and install some better systems. Most of them aren't broken, they're just outdated. You walk in with fresh eyes, implement some tech, automate where you can, maybe build a social media presence they never had, and boom, revenue grows, profit grows, and suddenly you're not earning a paycheck, you're building wealth. Because when you own, you control the cash flow, the equity, the decisions, and the future. Now, imagine what that does for your life. You're no longer stressing about rent or wondering if the next job will pay more. Your income isn't tied to your hours. You can go on vacation and your business still earns. You can get sick, take time off, or focus on your next acquisition, and the money keeps flowing. That's leverage, that's freedom. And it starts when you break out of the worker mindset and step into the ownership mindset. Look, most people are trained to be employees, and there's no shame in that. It's how we're taught. But if you want to stop struggling with money forever, you have to unlearn that. You have to stop chasing income and start collecting assets. You have to stop thinking about how to work harder and start asking how to work smarter. And that begins with owning something that pays you whether you show up or not. So if you only do one thing today, let it be this. Start looking for a boring business that makes real money. Go online, check local listings, ask around, find who's retiring, begin the conversation, learn what they're doing, learn how you could run it better. It may not look glamorous on the outside, but if you do it right, it will quietly and consistently build the kind of wealth that makes sure you never have to worry about money again. Most people are so obsessed with becoming a millionaire on paper that they forget to ask the only question that really matters. Can this asset pay me today? That's the question that separates people who look rich from those who are actually free. There's a massive difference between net worth and cash flow, and if you want to stop struggling with money, you have to stop chasing the vanity metric. A high net worth means absolutely nothing if you're still living paycheck to paycheck, worried about next month's bills, or one emergency away from financial chaos. You don't need more zeros in your portfolio. You need income you can actually spend, use, and reinvest. We've been sold this dream of accumulation: buy a house, fill your retirement account, invest in stocks, wait 40 years. But that game was designed for control, not freedom. You hand over your money, hope for the best, and pray it grows enough to finally enjoy when you're too old to care. That's not wealth. That's a slow motion gamble. It's a strategy built on deferral, not independence. Now, let me ask you this. If you stopped working today, how long would your lifestyle last? A week? A month? A year? That's your true financial security score. It has nothing to do with your job title or your bank balance. It's about cash flow. What comes in without you clocking in? That's what we're after, because cash flow buys you choices. When your bills are paid by passive income, you breathe differently. You walk into rooms with confidence, you negotiate from a position of strength, and you're no longer making decisions from a place of fear. Money is no longer the master, it becomes the servant. That is power. And here's the kicker. It's not that hard to build, but most people never even try. They're too busy chasing the next promotion or trying to flip stocks for a quick win. Meanwhile, the people who are truly free are collecting rental income, business dividends, licensing fees, or even something as simple as vending machine revenue. It's not about being a genius, it's about being intentional. Let me give you an example. Say you buy a small cleaning service. Nothing fancy, just a couple crews, some good clients, and systems that run well. That one business could pay you $5,000 a month to $10,000, 0 cents a month. That's someone's full-time job, but you're not showing up every day. You're not scrubbing toilets. You bought the machine, you fueled it, and now it works for you. You might still work, but now it's a choice, not a requirement. Or maybe you invest in a local laundromat or a car wash or a self-directed facility. These businesses aren't flashy. You won't see them on Instagram, but they generate predictable, consistent income, the kind of income that doesn't care what the stock market is doing, the kind of income that keeps showing up even when you're on vacation. And that's what changes everything, because when your lifestyle is covered by passive income, you're free to take risks, start something new, invest in yourself, walk away from toxic environments. You don't have to accept scraps because you're already eating. You don't have to say yes out of desperation. That's when money stops being a source of stress and starts becoming a tool for creation. And yes, this takes work. Yes, you'll need to get uncomfortable, but the alternative is a lifetime of financial anxiety, hoping someone else will come save you, the government, your employer, the market. That's not a bet I'm willing to make. You shouldn't be either. So when people ask, what's the one thing I can do today to never struggle with money again? My answer is simple. Stop chasing net worth and start building cash flow, because net worth is paper. Cash flow is power, and power is what buys you peace. Most people hear the word debt and immediately recoil. They've been taught to fear it, to avoid it, to associate it with failure, pain, or regret. And I get it. The kind of debt most people are exposed to is toxic. Credit card bills stacking up, student loans that never die, car payments that drain your account every month. That's the kind of debt that traps you. That's the kind of debt that keeps people broke. But let's be very clear here. That is not the only kind of debt. And if you want to never struggle with money again, you need to unlearn what you've been taught about debt. Wealthy people don't run from debt. They use it strategically, intentionally, with discipline and clarity. They don't take on debt to buy liabilities. They take on debt to buy income. The difference is night and day. Let me make it real simple. If you borrow money to buy a thing that loses value and makes you no money, that's dumb debt. But if you borrow money to buy something that pays you every single month and appreciates over time, that's smart debt, that's investor debt, that's wealth building debt. And here's the truth nobody told you in school. You'll never build real wealth if you're only using your own money. Your bank account, no matter how big, has a ceiling. But when you learn to use other people's money, the bank's money, investors' money, seller financing, creative lending, that's when you stop playing the small game. That's when you stop trying to save your way to freedom and start leveraging your way there. Think about this. If you've got $100,000, 0 cents, and you buy a $100,000 0 cents business in cash, you've got one business. That's fine, but that's it. You're all in. But if you take that same $100,000 0 cents and use it as a down payment on a $500,000 0 cents business that cash flows every month, now we're talking. And if you're smart, if you structure it well, you might not even need all of that $100,000 0 cents to make it work. You might only need $50 0 cents K or $20 0 cents K or even zero upfront with seller financing. That's not fiction. That's how real wealth is built. Quietly, strategically, repeatedly. But here's what really separates people who struggle with money and people who don't. Mindset. Most people use debt emotionally. They buy what feels good now and worry about the cost later. But financially free people use debt rationally. They use it to buy leverage. They ask, will this put more money in my pocket than it takes out? They don't buy liabilities with loans. They buy assets. And they don't get attached to the glamour of what the money buys. They focus on the numbers. What's the return? What's the cash on cash? How long until I get my money back? Let me give you a real world scenario. Say there's a small business for sale. Maybe it's a local landscaping company that nets $150,000 a year in profit. The seller's retiring. You negotiate the terms and put $25,000 0 cents down, and the rest is seller financed or backed by an SBA loan. Now think about that. You've used a relatively small amount of your own money to gain control of a profitable asset, and that asset pays you monthly, builds equity over time, and can be resold or expanded later. That's not just a transaction, that's a transformation. You've taken a leveraged action that permanently shifts your income trajectory. Meanwhile, the average person is still working overtime to pay off their car loan, tightening their belt to handle rent increases, and stashing away pennies trying to save their way to $1 million. It's not their fault. That's what they were taught. But just because it's common doesn't mean it's correct. If you want uncommon freedom, you have to take uncommon action. You have to look at debt differently. You have to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like an investor. Now, I'm not saying go max out your credit cards tomorrow and hope it works out. That's not strategy. That's desperation. What I'm saying is learn the rules of the wealthy. Study how they structure deals. Understand interest, amortization, leverage, risk. Take calculated bets with protective downside and uncapped upside. Use debt not as a weight, but as a wedge. Not as a trap, but as a tool. Wealthy people know how to use money that isn't theirs to buy freedom that is. You can too, but only if you choose to step off the hamster wheel and into the owner's seat. The sooner you do, the sooner money stops being your master and starts becoming your servant. Here's the thing nobody tells you when you start building wealth. Owning the asset is only part of the game. The real multiplier, what takes a decent business and turns it into a rocket ship, is owning the attention around that asset. You see, we live in a world where information is commoditized, products are duplicated overnight, and businesses get copied faster than you can say trademark. But what can't be copied? You, your voice, your story, your brand. That is where the leverage lives. That's how you tilt the playing field in your favor. And never worry about money again. Now, let me break this down. I've seen incredible businesses with great margins, steady customers, and solid operations still struggling. Why? Because no one knows about them. They don't know how to generate demand, how to get eyeballs, how to create inbound energy. They think if I build it, they will come. But that's a myth. People don't come to what's best. They come to what they see. Visibility drives viability. So if you want to ensure that money stops being a problem in your life, you've got to own not just the product, but the pipeline. And that pipeline is built through content, through media, through storytelling. You don't need millions of followers. You need trust. You need a community, even a small one, who sees your name and knows what you stand for, who sees your face and hears your values, who learns from you, buys from you, and refers others because they trust you. That kind of brand equity, it never depreciates. It compounds. And here's what most people get wrong. They think building an audience is vanity. It's not. It's strategy. They think it's only for influencers or YouTubers or people who want to be famous. Wrong. It's for business owners. It's for investors. It's for anyone who wants to stop chasing and start attracting. Because when you control the narrative, when you become the distribution, you can move any product, you can sell any offer, you can shift markets. You're not just playing the game, you're shaping it. Let's say you own a boring business, maybe a landscaping company, a bookkeeping firm, or a laundromat? What if you started documenting the behind the scenes? Sharing lessons, mistakes, insights, you'd attract people who want to do what you're doing. They follow you, they learn from you, they trust you. Now, when you sell a course, a product, or a consulting call, you don't have to convince them. You've already built the relationship. When it comes time to raise capital, you've got an audience that knows you, likes you, and believes in your vision. That's asymmetric leverage. When I started talking about my business journey publicly, I didn't do it because I loved the spotlight. I did it because I saw the ROI. Every video I put out, every newsletter I wrote, every podcast I shared, it became a magnet. It brought in deal flow, it brought in partners, it brought in customers, operators, even employees. It reduced the friction in every part of the business because the media side greased the engine. It created a gravitational pull so strong that I no longer had to chase opportunities. They chased me. And that's the goal here, not to become internet famous, but to become financially free faster by using attention the right way. You build once, you post once, and it keeps paying you in reach, in recognition, in revenue. It's scalable, it's evergreen, it works while you sleep. That's the kind of asset that's invisible to most people, but invaluable to those who understand it. So if there's one thing you do today, make it this: start telling your story, even if it's messy, even if you feel like you have nothing unique to say. The fact that you're in the game already makes your perspective valuable to someone who's still on the sidelines. Talk about what you're building, what you're learning, what you're failing at. Share the frameworks you're applying, the numbers you're seeing, the hard truths you're discovering, because every post is a brick, and every brick becomes part of your empire. Own the message, own the media, and you'll never have to beg for attention or money again. When I say create operating systems that run without you, I don't mean installing some fancy software or hiring a virtual assistant to do your emails. I mean building your life and business in a way that frees you from the grind permanently. Most people confuse being busy with being important. They confuse hard work with value creation, and they confuse movement with progress. But the truth is, if your income is still tied to you showing up every single day, you're not free. You're a high-paid employee of your own system, and that system will collapse the minute you get sick, burn out, or just decide you want to live differently. So let me say something that may ruffle a few feathers. The less your business needs you, the more valuable it becomes. If you're the engine, the brain, and the lifeblood of your company, congratulations, you've built yourself a really demanding job. You may have swapped bosses, but you didn't swap roles. Freedom doesn't come from doing everything better. It comes from building something that does everything without you. And that requires a radical shift in how you think. You need to start thinking like an owner, not an operator. Owners build systems, operators do tasks. Owners measure output, operators measure hours. Owners think in terms of leverage, people, processes, and platforms. If your day is full of solving problems, answering questions, putting out fires, you're not building wealth. You're babysitting chaos. That's not where your energy belongs. Here's what I do instead. The moment I step into a business, whether it's a laundromat, a content studio, or a small local service company, I look for friction. Where are humans doing what tech could automate? Where are customers confused because there's no clear process? I want to see how fast I can replace myself. I hire strong general managers. I document repeatable processes. I incentivize decision-making, and I install key performance indicators that tell me how the business is doing without me having to ask anyone. People think that's cold, that it lacks heart, but there's nothing more compassionate than creating a system that supports everyone, employees, customers, and yes, you. When you systemize well, your team knows what to do without asking you. Your clients get the same high-quality experience every single time, and you get your time back. That's not cold, that's smart, that's sustainable. That's what creates generational impact. You see, most entrepreneurs build their identities around being irreplaceable. They love being the hero, the one with all the answers, the fixer, the closer, the savior. But that's ego talking. Ego doesn't build freedom. Ego builds cages. If you want to be rich and tired, keep being the hero. If you want to be wealthy and free, start being the architect. Step back, build frameworks, empower others, trust systems over hustle. And yes, at first it's going to feel weird. You're going to feel useless. Your calendar will open up. You'll wonder if you're doing enough. That's your old programming, panicking. That's the employee mindset, clawing for control. Let it go. Emptiness in your schedule is not a threat, it's an invitation. It means you finally have room to think, to strategize, to acquire your next business, or just go live your damn life. I didn't start living differently because I had a bunch of money. I started making real money because I began living differently. I made space. I stopped micromanaging. I stopped building houses with my hands and started designing neighborhoods with blueprints. Every single one of you has that ability. You don't have to be the technician forever. You can be the owner. You can install the gears, tighten the screws, and then walk away knowing that the machine will hum without you. The question is, will you keep being the engine, burning fuel every day just to move forward? Or will you build the machine, step out of the driver's seat, and finally start owning the road? The money follows the systems. But freedom? That only comes when you're no longer required for the machine to work. That's when you stop struggling. That's when you start multiplying. Everyone's looking for the grand answer, the master plan, the ultimate secret that will make all the financial noise just stop. They think wealth comes from some complex formula or years of grinding until one day they wake up rich. But it doesn't work like that. Real financial freedom often starts from just one asymmetric action, a single move that tilts the entire game in your favor. Most people never take that step. They're waiting until they have more knowledge, waiting until the risk feels smaller, waiting until someone else gives them permission. But here's what I've learned from watching people go from broke to financially free. The ones who make it don't have perfect timing or perfect plans. They have courage, and they use it to make imperfect moves with disproportionate payoff. So what does that mean? A systematic action, it's something that costs you very little, but has the potential to pay you for the rest of your life. It's a bet where the downside is known, but the upside is unlimited. And these opportunities, they're not rare, they're just ignored because they don't look flashy at first. They look simple. They look too small to matter. But the truth is, one of those moves is probably already within reach for you right now, today. It might be sending that email to the business owner whose store you walk past every day, asking if they've ever considered selling. It might be using your weekend to build a one-page site for a skill you already have and charging someone for it. It could be talking to someone who owns a laundromat, a cleaning service, or a vending machine route and figuring out what it would take to buy it. The action itself doesn't have to be big. What matters is that it moves you from the world of consumers into the world of owners. See, the reason most people struggle with money isn't because they're not working hard enough. It's because they're not betting on the right thing. They're betting on hours. They're betting on salaries. They're betting on managers and promotions and job security. And none of that is asymmetric. All of that is linear. 1 hour, one paycheck, one effort, one reward. But when you take a single step toward ownership, even if it's tiny, you start shifting the equation. Suddenly, your effort compounds. Your risk turns into leverage. Your decision turns into a flywheel that, once in motion, doesn't stop. That's what I mean when I say do one thing today, just one, and you'll never struggle with money again. Because that one move, that one bet is enough to get you out of the loop of scarcity and into the space where wealth builds on itself. Let me tell you something else. You don't need to know everything before you start. The best moves are usually made while you're still figuring it out. Perfection is procrastination in disguise. If you wait until you have the whole map, someone else who started with nothing but a compass will already own the land. You will make mistakes. You might send the wrong pitch, fumble the first deal, overthink the first hire. That's normal. But that's how you learn. That's how you build muscles instead of just collecting manuals. Because reading about money and making money are not the same thing. Ownership is a contact sport. You have to get in the game. The irony is, most people will hear what I'm saying and still wait. They'll close this tab, scroll on, go back to life as usual. But one person, maybe that's you, will do something. Not everything, not the whole plan, just something real. They'll send the email, ask the question, buy the course, walk into the bank, call the seller, and that one move will tilt the entire game. That's how wealth starts, not with 10 steps, just one, done today, and done with full belief that your future self will look back on this moment and whisper, that was it. That was the day everything changed.